Welcome to my voiceover world.
Hello.
Hi, I just saw your message. I was like, I'm in the Zoom now.
Oh, don't worry. I am all yours right here.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. How are
Awesome.
you?
I'm good. I usually do these interview things from my home studio, but I had sessions in LA and I live in Orange County. It was too far to make it, and I know we had to reschedule, so I wanted to make sure to make time to make it happen tonight.
I understand. After all, I do see a lot of voice actors doing usual places like that. Because trust me, you're not the only one.
Yeah,
So, so, thanks for willing to do this, Michael.
of course. Thanks for having me.
It's what I do best, always. You know, I've been wanting to say this to you, but I've been getting to know so much about you because of Code Geass, Rose of the Recapture, which, in all honesty, I did credited you on IMDb's for the sake of you just being there.
Thank
Honestly.
you.
And
Yeah, I've done a lot of work that doesn't get credited correctly on IMDb. The unfortunate thing is because my name is Michael Scott, like The Office, one, it's hard to Google me and find me. And then two, there are other Michael Scotts in the union. So what happens is the credits go to other Michael Scotts. Even when I'm on camera and it's my face, I had to fight to get my credits. So that's why my original stage name was Real Michael Scott, and then I would lose the credits because the production companies would drop the reel. And so it would just go to Michael Scott. And then I changed it now to Michael Scott Action. And that seems to be working because at least my name comes first. And as long as they keep the action, then it goes into IMDb. So unfortunately, I'm still working on that process to get credit for all those things.
I see. I just wanted to make sure you were working things out.
Yeah,
Honestly, I prefer to call you by Michael Scott Action right there,
that
because that's
works.
the one thing right there that could help you be credited as as the real you there, instead of
Yeah.
being someone else.
Let me
But
see.
I have many questions I've been wanting to ask you.
All right.
Tell me about you've been part of so many animated projects right there. So how does it feel about being in so many different projects that is yet to come?
It's great. I've been working a lot with mommy at Bang Zoom, and she's been wonderful in helping cast me in some different projects. We worked together at a conference and we hung out, and I was doing voices for some of the classes. And she's like, "Hey, I like that," and she kind of brought me in to work on a couple of projects. So I've been loving the anime vibes lately. I've been working on Sakamoto Days, The Seven Deadly Sins, Four Nights of the Apocalypse, and of course, you already named a few. So it's been great. I've also done some anime video games like Genshin Impact and Monster Hunter's kind of a little bit of anime. There's a little bit of anime action going on, but also Super Crooks on Netflix is another anime that I've voiced several characters for. So yeah, more in the pipeline, and it's fun. Anime is a little more challenging for those that don't know. Dubbing is kind of like karaoke, and I do both live action dub and anime, of course. And so when you're in the studio, it's kind of like the words come across the screen, and there's like a little bar, and you have to say it when it hits it. And so it's a very technical thing when you're acting, right? Because if it's original animation, like I'm in a show called Young Love, and I play several characters, but it was a brand new show that we created from scratch. So I got to play and do whatever I wanted to do and have fun and make choices and all that kind of stuff. And then it gets made into other languages around the world, and people have to, like, match my lip flap, so to speak. And when you dub, you're dubbing a language, whether it's Japanese, Chinese, wherever the anime came from, and you have to match the lip sync of the original actor. So it is challenging because you're looking at the screen, you're matching the vibe and the attitude, the passion, but it's very time consuming in terms of if you have maybe a few seconds to say something, or maybe you have to get this whole big paragraph in. The other thing is it's cold reading. Like you don't get the script in advance. You're reading it for the very first time in the moment. So there are some challenges, but it's really fun to stretch yourself as an actor and take on some of those roles, especially because the fans love it. Like Like I've gotten so much love for Sakamoto Days and some of the characters I've played in other animes that have really taken off. And so I love doing it. Four Nights of the Apocalypse has also been a huge hit that came out on Netflix recently.
I see. So that's what you like about being in those projects. But you know something? What you said earlier about learning about anime and stuff, about the math flaps and stuff, I
Mm-hmm.
learned that from a class 1 year ago about
Oh,
what's it like being in an anime and something. And what I have learned about it just helps me understand about what it means to just simply correct the mouth flaps to make someone understand what you're really saying for the
yeah.
sake of making the character more unique in a way. But to answer the to ask you this one important question,
Mhm.
what really inspired you to pursue voice acting, and what is the best decision so far that has excelled into your career? For what purpose?
So I've always wanted to be a voice actor. When I was a little kid, I would watch X-Men, Spider-Man, Batman, Saturday morning cartoons, and I would mimic the voices. And then I'd have the action figures. I was a huge Ninja Turtle fan and X-Men fan, so I'd play with the toys and I'd do a Wolverine voice or I'd do a Ninja Turtle voice, and I would just play with it as I would go, or do a Hulk voice, Hulk smash. And so I'd always like mimic and play and just like have these epic battles and scenes in my own head. And it's funny because I never knew later I could somehow turn that into a career. So ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to do it. But how to formally learn and train, I took acting classes, I took improv classes, with the Groundlings and Second City. I learned scene study and character development. All these technical things. I studied acting in college and also took private lessons and small group. So it's all fun and games, but there's a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes. I'll also share briefly my first dubbing job I actually got fired from, and I always share this when I teach classes. And it wasn't because I couldn't do the acting. I booked the job, and it was this big dubbing role. It was a lead character, but I had never dubbed before. And so in our world, we go off of these three beeps, and you come in on the imaginary fourth beep. So in other words, it's like beep, beep, beep. And I was just standing there, like waiting for action or something. Like I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And the director's like, okay, I can see this guy doesn't know what he's doing. They can tell you're green or new. So long story short, I got fired. It was very devastating, and I was so sad about it because I had to tell my agent, like, I know I booked this big job, but I got fired. And so I really do my best in life to turn those things around. Going back to your original question, what inspires me is I didn't want to fail. I wanted to do better. So I started taking classes specific to dubbing, and now I've dubbed hundreds of projects, live action, anime, video games, localization, which is changing it into language. So the inspiration is to turn tragedy into triumph as best I can. And it's always just been fun. I'm a fan first and foremost. I used to go to Comic-Con as a fan every year with my aunt and uncles and just have fun and see all the characters and meet all the people. And now I'm honored to say I'm a guest speaker at WonderCon and Comic-Con and all these great things. So it it inspired me first as a fan, and now to be a professional on the other side, it's so rewarding.
Wow. So that's how you got into voice acting because of that experience right there. But there are two things I wanted to tell you. Number one, what you just told me,
Mhm.
you reminded me of myself because of me trying to me trying to look up to these cartoons since I was a child and that I've been mimicking a lot of people, which I've been very good at a lot, and even the actors I've been meeting for 4 years all see that I'm very good at mimicking them. And
Yeah.
plus some of them even say that I could be their, how do I say this? Like their successor right there. And that what I am seeing so far is just something that will help me excel to my career that is going to happen eventually, which is why I've been taking casting call clubs for the sake of me getting a lot of auditions, and I got shortlisted into one of them. And that's
Awesome.
why, no matter what happens, I'm gonna work very hard to eventually become one of those actors who will eventually work with those that I looked up to.
Hey, that's what happened to me. Like I literally have done work with people who I grew up with as a kid. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm on a show with this person, and it's like they were the voice of my childhood. So I always say, why not me? Like, why not you? If this is something you want to do, you're passionate about it. Obviously, you created a whole show and a podcast and all this stuff, interviewing voice actors. Like, why not you? Put yourself in the game, man. It's all comes down to training and opportunity, right? You have to be good for when the opportunity comes, but then you put yourself in those places for opportunities. So I often tell people I just came back from VO Atlanta. It's the biggest voiceover conference in the world. It's every March, and people come from all over the world to learn animation, video games, commercials, podcasts, narration,
Etc.
everything voiceover. And what's great is there's experts from all over the world as too in every genre. So if you're a audiobook guy, there's people there that specialize in audiobooks, on automotive, like subcategories. So I often tell people, if you really are serious, pick one of the many conferences that go on all around the world, because two things happen. One, you get the training during the day, like the technical skills, and in the evenings you get to network with the people who can help move your career forward. So, for example, if you're brand new, you might want to work with a coach and someone to train you and mentor you. If you've been in for a while, then maybe you're looking for an agent or a manager, and those people are there. And if you already have an agent and a manager, maybe you meet a casting director and kind of learn their style, and this is their style of animation, or this is what they like to hear in commercials, or this is their preference in video games. And you kind of only get that from being around people in the industry and that experience. So for example, some directors love for you to improv. They love for you to make it your own, to play, to like, the words are there, but they're just a roadmap. And then some casting directors are very particular. You have to be word perfect exactly, and they don't want you to improv. They don't want you to play. But how would you know that unless you kind of meet these people and know their work? So that's why I recommend going to the conferences when you can, because it grew my career exponentially. And now I do my best as a coach, mentor, trainer, someone on the other end, to help people and send the ladder back down.
I see. That's a very good thing to hear from you. Because to be honest, I actually take improv classes through Global Voice Acting Academy and often learn from a lot of people from everybody there. But the second thing I was gonna tell you is that I was gonna ask you about the question about if you ever faced rejection from auditions, but then you ended up speaking it for me, like if you read my mind or something. And and I'm very glad that you ended up telling me about the rejections you faced and how you were able to overcome them. So I should thank you for giving me that answer that I've searched for.
Yeah, actors, if you want to be an actor, you face rejection every day. You get tons of auditions. Eventually you book one, hopefully, but maybe you don't book one for a week, a month, a year later. And then sometimes you're booking back to back, like, yeah, 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 yeah. And then all of a sudden you're not. And maybe that's a time to get some retraining and reskills. But bottom line, our profession is built on rejection. And if you don't have thick skin to move past that, you will not succeed in this business, because you do more auditions than you book. It's just the way things are. And even people at the top of the game, people who've been in the industry for years and years, they still have to actively audition. Now, every once in a while, someone's like, hey, I work with you. You're great. I'll just put you in. Like, you don't even audition. But that's more rare. More likely, you're going to have to audition because they want to hear how you do that character's voice in particular. If it's a character, obviously, if it's your own voice, they know how you sound. But bottom line, rejection, I always say, send it and forget it. You do your best work in that moment for that audition and you send it off. A lot of times people that aren't in our industry are like, did you get that job? Did you get that job? It's like, which one? Because you just keep moving. You just keep sending auditions. And the more you do, the more likely you are to book.
It's actually a good thing about you, actually. Just going through all that kind of makes me think that if I ever do face rejections, then I'll overcome them and just work very hard to get there. So that's something I am willing to do for my own sake. And
Yeah,
that's something that I sought from you, my friend.
I
And
love it.
now, the characters about the characters I'm about to ask you is this. Do you remember your first ever character or your first ever audition you have ever voiced in? And what was the experience like being part of this first ever audition?
Um, I've done so many. Honestly, I don't remember the exact first one, but I do remember one specifically because it was one of the first times I saw my character on TV. So several years ago, I did these Best Buy commercials, and it was really cool. They're like claymation, like the old school Santa Claus and Rudolph, where it's like they're all made of clay. And they gave me this character that worked for Best Buy, and he was animated, and basically I had a little parrot too, and it was about Black Friday, and it was right around the time the pandemic started. So the theme of it was basically that Black Friday is all month long. You don't have to wait for that one day, where everybody gets crazy and fights each other for stuff. And I just remember it was on the TV all the time, and I didn't really do a character voice; it was my natural voice. And so friends and family were calling me like, "Hey, is this you? We just saw your commercial." And like it was one of those really cool moments where people recognized, who I was and what I was doing. And let me close this real quick. It's a little loud outside. It was one of those moments where people recognized my work. And the other cool thing is, side note, I was so excited. I was at Best Buy buying some like a home theater system. And I was joking with the employee and I was like, "Hey, do you guys give employee discounts?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, you work for Best Buy?" I was like, "Yeah, I do the commercials." He's like, "Really?" And then I showed him the commercial. And the dude gave me the employee discount. So I got like this home theater system for the employee discount at Best Buy. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that, but oh well, I already got it and had it listening to it for years. But that was one of the coolest moments early on in my career.
Interesting. So that was your first ever character. I just wanted to make sure so that just in case if I ever do a voice showcase for you one of these days, just like how I did for everyone else for 4 years,
Yeah.
then you, my friend, will be likely to have it all in chronological order for the
Oh, that's
sake of making
awesome.
sure you know who's first and who is last due to the development of the change in the voice actors' voices for years. That
Oh,
is how my YouTube videos work in a way.
that's awesome. Yeah, I need that because I'm always losing the characters and trying to track them down on YouTube and stuff like that and record it. I do my best on my Instagram. I try my best to capture the character and the project and the voices as best I can. But honestly, a lot of times we're just moving on to the next project. So I'm bad at that. So I would love to have your help to help me collect all of my little characters.
And that's what I am here for, to help
Yes.
everyone out. As someone with autism, I have used that ability to help a lot of people in the world, especially you, Michael. Plus, Autism Awareness Month is coming by in a few days, and pretty soon I'll be likely to support everyone for the sake of the Boston Marathon and for everything that is yet to come.
Yeah, I saw that on your post. I love that you own your superpower. And I say that both as an actor, but more as an educator. I run a program it's called Special Programs for people with intellectual disabilities and different places on the spectrum. And I love that work because we focus on helping people with education and to find jobs to let them know that, turning whatever it is you're going through and turning that superpower into tangible skills. And so that's been some of my life's work behind the scenes in addition to acting. So I'm very, very proud of you for stepping out and representing for us neurospicy people, because I also deal with some of those issues.
Hmm. I'm blessed you say that, Michael, and I should thank you for it. I really loving the kind words you give to me.
Absolutely.
But now, without further ado, about one of your characters, how does it feel about stepping into the role of Dark Majesty in Trials of Mena? What do you love most about voicing that character in the game?
Okay. That one I remember. So what was cool about that, I got to play three different versions of this villain. So when he starts off Majesty, he's like this royal prince and he's human. So he starts there, but by the end of the game, he's this huge beast monster. So I got to change my voice three times. And I do remember this character because this was one of the first games that came out, that again, I was like, oh my God, I'm in this game. But most importantly, he was the end boss. Like, you have to go through the whole entire game to like fight this guy. And not that it was my dream growing up as a kid to be a villain, but I thought it was really cool to be the end boss of the game, like the final boss, final round.
Well, that's a good sign to hear from you, because all I know is that I got to know about Trials of Mana and the entire cast members of it because of everything they have done. Plus, one of the mem actors in it, I made a video for him, and the name of this guy is Brad Venable, and
Oh, Fred.
I made that a voice showcase on my YouTube channel for the
Mhm.
sake of him being remembered. Plus, I mentioned his wife for the sake of her, for showing it to her in order to honor his legacy, just
Yeah,
like I've done it for everyone else. Through Lance Riddick, through Billy Kometz, through everyone that I have done. And that's something I am willing to do for my own sake. As everyone helped me out, in return, all the actors do the same for me.
that's
That
amazing.
is my way.
Yeah, I knew Brad. He was a great person. This shirt I'm wearing is NAVA, the National Association of Voice Actors, and we actually worked to create a scholarship in Brad's memory that we give out every year at our gala. And so I'm proud to hear that you've been honoring his memory as a board member of NAVA.
Hmm. And that's something I wanted everyone, including Nava and Tim Frundler, to see when that time comes. So that's something I wanted to express to you, my friend.
Thank you. I'll let him
Hmm.
know.
Now, without further ado, about you playing your character, the player voice, in Monster Hunter Rise must have been so excited, right? So let me ask you this. What's the most favorite aspect about bringing that character into the big game right there?
I love that character. It was one of my first player characters. See, a lot of people are famous because they're like this person in the video game or that person. But what's cool about the player character, you actually get more work. You get like tons of sessions because you got to do everything that player does. You got to run, crawl, jump, fight, die, kick, scream, shoot. You do everything. And that game in particular, I made it in the pandemic. And so I couldn't come in the studio. So at that time, I had this hot little closet at my house and they send you a rig, which is like, you know, the mic and all the stuff. And I just remember like dripping sweat. It was like a workout every day. And it took me about 2 weeks to make that game. And I'm so happy and proud about how it came out. But that was one of my very first player characters. And to this day, I teach people from the efforts and impact I've done for that game, you know, the sounds. And I always thought like, I had a moment where I was like, this is pretty cool. I'm getting paid to breathe. Like literally, like, give us some breaths. Like, and you literally just sit there and you're like, because they need a pattern that they loop, you know, and then you speed it up if you run or whatever. But I never thought in life I would find a way to get paid just to breathe.
I see. So that's what you love about playing that character. 'Cause all I know is that I've got to know about that game and that you being part of it was just a very good choice right there. Whoever brought you in did a good job bringing you there.
Yeah,
Honestly,
Captain's out Aram at PBC Games. They've been wonderful. They've hired me for several other projects over the years. So
which is
that's
why I, which is why I got to interview both of them a
yes,
few
I saw
days
that.
ago, and that's why they're very nice people. And that's the reason why I respect their work, because of the things they do for others,
Mm-hmm.
especially to someone in particular that I've spoken to 1 year ago, Chris J. Alex, who he
Yeah,
and I have been talking to each other a lot. He's, so, yeah, that's something I wanted to express to you.
funny. I just saw him today. Actually, we passed each other in an audition. So hopefully, we're not going for the same role, so we can both get it and go do this project together. But a lot of times, us in the voiceover industry, we see our friends, and I'll say it's a really positive community. Like people who have trained me, like my friend Jason Lanier White, early in my career, he knew he was training his competition, but he still like trained me and mentored me and guided me. And then later in my career, I would see him going for the same roles. We're about the same age, about the same voice print, same ethnic background. And so it's an honor that even though we compete, it's friendly competition and we support each other and look out for each other.
Hmm. Well, that's a good sign to see us good friendship there. And
Yeah.
that's why I respect you and everyone else in the community, no matter where it takes. But now without further ado, about one of the characters I got to know of by the name of Flair in Super Crooks. He must have been a very cool character you got to play as. So let me ask you this. What made that role super special for you, and what do you love most about playing him in the entire anime show?
That's an easy one. He was my first superhero I got to voice, and I'm a huge superhero fan. A huge Marvel fan, a huge DC fan, Dark Comics, Spawn. Like, I grew up loving superheroes. And he's also a hero of color. So it was awesome, a bonus to do that. And when I got the role, it wasn't huge, but I was just happy to be in the game. Like, he's, running around doing stuff, fighting. And what's also interesting is, if you're not familiar with Super Crooks, it's on Netflix. The heroes are more of a smaller part of the world. It's really about the crooks or the villains. And I also voiced several villains throughout that same series. Um, but that's what I loved. It was my very first superhero role, and I got to say, "Look, Mom, I'm a superhero." It was very cool.
Hmm.
And ironically, he was at San Diego Comic Con. His very first line, he's at San Diego Comic Con. And why that's special for me, that's where my career started, San Diego Comic Con. I was at this event and I was just doing voices, hanging out. And I met my very first agent at the time, Alyssa Gentile, who every time I do an interview, I always credit her because she mentored and guided me and told me where to take classes and where to network and help me with my demo. And it all started at San Diego Comic Con. And so, ironically, my very first superhero character was at San Diego Comic Con on the Netflix show Super Crooks.
Interesting. That's a very interesting I'm beginning to learn from you. But
I know it's weird connections, right?
I see. All I know is that I got to know about Super Crooks on Netflix and that I got to meet some of the people in there, and that you being part of it was a very good choice. I'm beginning to understand. Plus, director Kevin did an amazing job directing you right there.
Yeah,
And what I wanted to tell you is that you deserve to be playing more characters that needs to be recognized and like either like main protagonist or even a supporting character or anything that will make your career into something more, into
I,
something better, just by letting the everyone know of who you really are.
I
And that's the
agree.
whole
And
point
those
of it.
things are definitely coming. It's been awesome because those smaller roles and additional roles or additional characters has built my career because people got to know that I could do a lot of voices. So like even in Super Cooks, I think like 8 or 10 characters because Kevin let me play. He would show me a picture, be like, "All right, be this guy. All right, I'll be this guy. I'll be in jail. Hey, what's up, man? I'm gonna do this voice." I would just play with it and he'd be like, "All right, do this voice." So I would be everything from younger people to older people to aliens and ghouls and goblins and monsters. So I'm very fortunate that and most of the shows and series and games I play, they let me play multiple characters.
That's a very interesting I'm beginning to learn from you. And I'm glad that he is allowing you to do that.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, about one of your characters by the name of Essa from Earth Defense Force World Brothers 2 must have been a very cool thing. So let me ask you this. What's the most thrilling thing about voicing him in the entire game?
This one I got to work with a really good friend and director, Carrie, and she was so fun to work with. This is another anime style project. So I got to fight and be in this game, and again, really hone my skills doing efforts and impacts. And again, to be another playable character, which meant multiple sessions and opportunities to play. So I love being a part of this project.
I see that. Well, that's a good thing to hear from you. And if in the name Carrie, are you talking about Carrie Carnan, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes.
I see.
She is wonderful since we're doing side quest stories. So, in addition to directing me as an actor, she took the time to mentor me as a director because I've been directing video games and working on some animated projects. And she's one of the very first directors that pulled me aside and let me sit in on sessions with her just to watch her process, because as actors, we just come in, do our thing, and leave. But what I didn't know as a director is happens before we step in the room and then what happens after we leave. And so I credit her with one of the very first people that took me under her wing to really show me what it's like to be a director.
I see. Well, that's very good to hear from you. And I'm glad Gary was able to bring you into the game. So, yeah. Without further ado, I got two more questions due to the time limit right there. So,
No problem.
as Matt as Macduff, how do I'm trying to say this
The
right,
gun.
but as Macduff from Seven Deadly Sins, Four Knights of the Apocalypse must be so cool to play as, right? So let me ask you this one thing. What's your most favorite thing about voicing that character in the entire anime show?
Oh man, Macduff is a badass. He just comes in cool as hell with his little sunglasses, like kicking ass and taking names. So he was a super fun character to voice because throughout the series, he just keeps popping up and whipping people's ass. And if you haven't seen it, it's also on Netflix. But uh, he has this weird power where he shuts off the sound. So even as you visually watch the anime, you can see him like fighting and doing things, but like the characters physically can't hear anything. So like you don't know when he's coming. It's like a part of his powers and his magic. So like basically everything goes silent and he just starts beating people's ass. And then all of a sudden the sound comes back on and he's already like killed people and things. So I don't want to give too much away because it's a show, not a video game. So I want you to go and experience it. But that was a super fun character to play. He's this big, huge, hulking guy, but also has magic powers. And I got to say a lot of fun, random words, which was also cool. But that's the Seven Deadly Sins, Four Nights of the Apocalypse, and it's also on Netflix.
I see. So that's what you love about being in that show. Because all I know is that you being part of that show is was a very unique choice there. And to be
Yeah.
honest with you, two things I like to say, but one, your character wasn't added on behind the voice actor's website, and that
Oh man.
your character deserves to be put to the behind the voice actor's website, just like how Kate Clark got hers into it. So yours should do the same. And you know who else should do that?
Who's that?
Another voice actor who your character got to interact with, Jennifer Son Bell,
Oh yeah,
who
that's
she
my
does the
buddy.
character too. Her character wasn't added in behind the voice actors too. And you and Jennifer's characters deserve recognition on that website. So
You're
that
giving
that way
I
that
appreciate
way everything can finally work out for not just for the two of you, but for everyone in the industry.
I appreciate that, and I agree. One, I'm happy that I actually got the credit right on that one. And I think what happens is the productions are so busy, so they try to get things out as soon as possible. So sometimes they do little behind the scenes. Sometimes it's literally, hey, your session is tomorrow from this time to this time. You come in, you boom, you knock out, you do it, and you leave. So we understand, and sometimes they do have time to get those behind the scene moments.
Uh, I see. Well, that's a very good thing I wanted to hear from you, and I'm glad you say that. So, about you being in Wylde Flowers, what stood out about you being the character Damon Mthembu-Haas? Do you relate to him by any point?
Yeah, funny story. When I was voicing Damon, I would actually dress like him. I would like physically cosplay my character just to get in the zone, and that's kind of lately become a thing, which you'll hear and see more about. But Damon was really unique. So for those not familiar, Wildflowers is a cozy game, and I have been in lots of military shooters like Battlefield and in Fallujah and all these different projects that are about shooting and violence and superheroes and villains and Resident Evil and zombies and killing and
Etc.
etc. And then I'm in this cozy game. And you literally just hang out and go on dates. Like Damon works at a bar and he falls in love with this girl named Tara, and the player chooses, the choices in the cozy game. And I end up either being her best friend or I literally can marry her. We go on dates. It's a whole thing. And so it was my very first cozy game. And it was nice to not have to, fight to the death and just literally hang out and go on dates and build a really great relationship with the Help Network, who I've been working with for the last few years. And I absolutely love that. It's one of my favorite projects. And people to this day are so funny because like oftentimes relate Damon to me. He does a little bit look like me. He wasn't modeled after me. I came after, they show you the little character art, but I really connect because I basically used like my younger, more innocent self when I when I portray Damon.
Interesting. So that's what you like about playing that character. Honestly, you being part of that game was a very unique choice there, especially when you get to interact with a lot of people and just not, like you said, not get into a whole battlefield and something like that, but just be in a cool place with just relaxing and just enjoy life itself. And
Yeah,
that's what I like about
about the
you right
community.
there.
It was all about the community. And what was cool is a really long project actually, because they keep, doing updates. So I've been working on that game for years now. It's been awesome.
That's super awesome to hear from you. Well, Michael, it is such an honor to finally have you here, my friend, and that you being part of it is just something to help you feel recognized and for you to be brought into more projects yet to come, as
So,
many unique characters yet to come. There are two more things I wanted to ask you.
mhm.
Number one, when people look back at your work, how do you want to be remembered as a voice actor? And I wanted this to be quick because of the time, so yeah.
I would say that I did great work and that it was memorable. Real quick, I'll share a project that meant a lot to me. It was Dreamland, the burning of Black Wall Street. And why this meant a lot to me, I got to narrate. It's a project on CNN with LeBron James, and it told the story of the Tulsa, Oklahoma bombing. And my grandfather, his family experienced that, and he told me about it at a young age, and I didn't really believe him. I got like a degree in history, and I'd never heard of this thing because it was kept a secret for over 100 years. And later we found out it was real. And I got to work on that project. And it was an honor to tell that story and honor my grandfather. So I hope that my career honors the legacy for myself and my ancestors and everyone that I've gotten to work with, but also that people have fun. They enjoy their work, like all the actors I love. Kevin Conroy, Batman, one of my very favorite actors that I got to meet before he passed. And just, I want to leave that kind of legacy.
I see. And I did that video for him as a way to help honor his legacy and here's the best part. He is involved in the Devil May Cry series that is coming in a few days. And you know who else will be there? Tony Todd himself, since I have learned from Twitter that it is rumored that he is involved in Devil May Cry, and by the time I found out, it was all but true. He is indeed in it, and I've been waiting for that news for a long time, and it finally happened. So yeah. And the second thing I want to ask you is, in a quick way, is there anything you like to ask me before we go?
I would like to ask you, what is your dream role? If you could play any character in any series, who would it be?
Well, to answer your question, it will be in the manga series called Kakurabashi, where
Okay.
I like to do the main character himself, since he is basically like me, just being more, do you have any idea what you're doing? It's futile to escape from me, so don't make me kill you unless you tell me where he is.
Wow. Nice. See, you got the chops, man. You got to start hitting these auditions.
And that's what I am doing my best to get into these projects so that one day, when that time comes, I will announce it. I
Yes.
promise you that.
I love to hear that. We got less than a minute. So I will say, make sure you take some dubbing classes so you're not like me and don't get fired on your first job.
I will do it, my friend. I promise, with all my heart.
I believe you, and I'm here to help if you need it.
Of course. Well, well, my friend, it's such an honor to finally meet you and tell your friend Amari Williams I said hello and that tell him about our interview so that one of these days things will about to happen.
Yeah, that's my boy. We hung out all last weekend actually at VO Atlanta. So
I
I'll,
see.
I'll let him know that you said what's up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well
You
then.
can find me at Michael Scott Action on Instagram, Facebook, all the things at Michael Scott Action.
All right then. See you then.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Want to keep up with my journey? Follow me on social media for more updates, behind the scenes moments, and all the fun along the way.